Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 15th of January. We're sort of there in the middle of this month. It sometimes feels like the longest month of the winter. The days are beginning to get a bit longer, but they are, at least where I am, they are still really, really cold. And I am hoping that by the time you all watch this video, the winds in California will have died down and they will have a real reprieve and ability to stop the wildfires, the fires that are happening in Los Angeles. This is a real devastating thing. However, I find it really incredible the way that the world has come together to stop this. It speaks to me a great deal of the importance of recognizing the difference between rhetoric, the words that come out of our mouths, and the things that happen when the rubber really hits the road. When I am recording this on Monday, so because I know I've got a couple of busy days coming up, I want to make sure I have this ready, unlike last Wednesday where I didn't have one at all. And so I'm thinking about what's happening last week and over the weekend, the rhetoric coming around California and the things coming from the soon-to-be inaugurated president-elect, and the recognition that sometimes the words just need to stop and the actions have to speak instead. In the midst of all of the things about the governor being nicknamed Governor New Scum instead of Newsom, because he is the governor of a blue state and holds different things as important than the president-elect, there have been lots of coverage on the news and media, on mainstream and other sorts of media, around the relationship that the federal government has in respect to the states, in particular this particular state, what happens when a state is under siege by a force of nature, a fire, not a decision made by someone, not that something that we can say this is somebody did this to someone else. This is just something that's happening and is affecting people regardless of how they voted in that state. At what point do we recognize that as a country we all need to stand up? Canada has been there. We have been there way too many times in the last few years. Forest fires that leveled communities, whole towns. Lytton, BC in particular, understands, if anyone in the world understands what places, communities in California are going through, it is Lytton, BC, because if I'm not mistaken, not only did they face a forest fire that just devastated the whole community, they were also hit by one of those atmospheric rivers that then flooded it as well. I could be wrong about the place, but there was a place in BC a couple of years ago who were hit by both natural disasters. And if anyone can understand the absolute depth of despair and the need to be able to take a deep breath and stand up and say, we will carry on, it is the folks in that community in BC. And I imagine they are all feeling for the people of Los Angeles and the Palisades and all of those places right now. You are not alone. People are praying for you. And while that may seem like the whole prayers and good thoughts, prayer changes things. Some of the things that prayer changes is how people respond. Some people are responding very poorly to this and turning this into a political arena. Other people are simply responding to a need. I loved seeing on Facebook the number of things that are happening. The Canadian fire bombers, the water bombers that are present in California helping. And Canadian people, the Canadian military sending in Canadian military firefighters to help the people of California. In the midst of the threat of economic war with Canada, the Canadian military stood up and said, we have resources, you need them, here we go. Canadian provinces who have sent the communities who have sent firefighters down to help out those who have been standing there side by side from the beginning. Mexican firefighters can remember the Mexicans. They're under gun from the new president-elect as well, and yet guess where they are? I was listening to an article or a segment on the news. I was driving to church on Sunday, and they were talking about how do you do that? You got people from around the world. There were folks I saw the folks from an airport in Canada where the South African firefighters many, like dozens of them, had landed in an airport in Canada to en route to California, and they had them singing and preparing, and people were so excited to see them heading out. I'm getting a little teary here. It is incredible what happens when people who serve in such a way. Firefighters are among the greatest heroes, aren't they? They walk into the flame to ensure that we don't have to. It's amazing. From around the world, going to a place that right now is burning up politically, and yet they look beyond that and say, we're here, we will help. How incredible is that? How absolutely incredible is that? One of the things this gentleman said, though, is that with people coming from around the world, Mexican firefighters who don't speak English, and, firefighters from LA who don't speak Spanish, they come in. He said that the commentator or the interviewer asked, how does that even work? He said, we all do the same thing, regardless of the language that we speak. We all do basically the same thing with basically the same equipment. When they come in, they don't take over. They give us a break. My guys have been working 24/7 for several days. Like, they've been going and going and going, and they see these people, international firefighters, come in who can pick up the hose, who can pick up an axe, who know exactly what to do, and who'll work side by side with them without needing to share a common word. And it gives them hope. It gives them a break. It reminds them they're not in this by themselves. Is that not the greatest message that we can give one another in our world today? It is incredible to see that even in a world I was watching an interview with Jen Psaki and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau the other day, and she was asking about how he was feeling about the worldwide reaction to incumbencies, that around the world, incumbent prime ministers and presidents and leaders are being thrown out of government or elected out, and other people of different ilk are coming in. And where are we in the world, and why is this happening? It was a great conversation. You should check it out. But it's true. And yet in the midst of that, in the midst of people reacting to the woke leaders who are willing to do things like send their firefighters into other countries, not worrying about the cost, but simply going there and saying, you need our help and we can offer help. What will happen to our world when those are the leaders who are deposed? What will happen to the world when the Governor Newsoms of the world ask for help and the federal leaders will say, you didn't vote for me, you're not getting it? We're not there yet. It feels like we're getting there, but we aren't there yet, and there are things we can do to stop it from happening. We can vote, we can speak up, we can volunteer, we can get involved, and we can absolutely pray. Because I have seen miracles in my life. I have seen times when people who are absolutely intransigent about their opinions, somehow something happened and they changed their minds. I believe that can happen. Right now, I believe that those firefighters have what is in them to take care of what they're doing, to take care of the people, and to take care of California, the same way as our firefighters and those from around the world who come to Canada to fight our forest fires every year. And then those same ones go to Australia and other places where they're needed. That is the kind of work we need to do as citizens of any country. We need our folks to just step up and say, regardless of the politics, I am your neighbor. And as your neighbor, I am here. So thank you to Governor Newsom and all the people who said, if you can help, please come and help. Thank you to the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of Mexico and the people, whoever the leadership is in South Africa, and all of the different places, all of the governors of the states who have sent people, firefighters, to California, people who will then go in after them to help people to figure out how to do the FEMA applications and the insurance, and all of the people who will legitimately try to help. It is in our worst hours that our best selves seem to come out. And so in this moment, as we consider what is happening in the world, and we recognize that this is a pretty worst hour for a lot of people, may we also recognize that this worst hour is the crucible in which goodness is formed. May goodness come where evil has been. May goodness come where tragedy has struck. May goodness come when we all stand side by side, regardless of politics, regardless of language, regardless of religion, and simply say, "You are my neighbor. Let me help." God bless and protect all of the firefighters and all of the people who are scared for their lives and their livelihoods, and all of the people who will go home to find they have none. And may God help them to recognize that when the fires are put out and the insurance agents have done their work, they will not be left alone, because we will all stand together as good neighbors. God bless you, everybody. Have a great day. I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.